Hey everybody, welcome to Dad's Den of Pop Culture. It is Justice League Monday. We're reading Justice League every Monday this year. We have gotten up to January of 1988, at least that's the cover date, and Justice League International, number 9. They have gone international now, officially. This is the member of the League assigned by the Soviet Union. And it doesn't seem to be going too well with them, huh? But you notice this. Millennium Week 1. So what was Millennium? It was a crossover. Included pretty much all the books they were doing, like within their normal continuity. And it was a story of a group called the Manhunters. They are these robots. They were initially created by the folks on Oa, the Guardians, who would later create the Green Lantern Corps. The idea being that the Manhunters was their first try at a sort of galactic or intergalactic police force. I guess galactic it would be. And it didn't work out. And they thought the Manhunters were gone. They created the Green Lantern Corps, who I think maybe even defeated them. And, so that threat was over. Well, this is who knows how many years later. Was it 1,000? Maybe that's why they called it Millennium. It's been so long, I don't remember. But the Manhunters were back. And so we see Rocket Red number 7 saying, "No man escapes the Manhunters." Yeah, so the Manhunters were back. And the idea was that several different characters within these books had secretly been these robotic Manhunters all along. They'd been replaced with the heroes not knowing it. So I cannot run through the entirety of Millennium here on these Justice League videos. So it's going to feel like we're coming into the sort of the middle of a story a little bit for the next couple of Mondays. You just have to bear with me on that one. But you'll at least get to see the Justice League in action. So let's see the Justice League in action in Seeing Red. Wait, if you haven't read Millennium number 1 on sale now, run out, buy a copy, and absorb every minute detail. If you have read Millennium number 1 on sale now, then sit back, relax, and enjoy. Well, technically, back in it would have been 87 at the time, I did read Millennium number 1. So that means I am legally allowed to continue with this book. Now, if you've never read it and you continue watching this video, I can't answer for you. You might have a visit from the police or DC Comics. I can't promise your safety. Any rate, we're looking at Keith Giffen for the plot and breakdowns, J.M. DeMatteis for script, Kevin Maguire, pencils, Al Gordon inks, Bob Lappin letters, Gene D'Angelo colors, Andrew Helfer editor. And so we have the new Justice League shuttle. They're not flying around in the bug anymore. We got Guy Gardner, Booster Gold, Martian Manhunter on the outside. Now, this is Guy after his, well, technically, I guess we could say like second head injury, where he's a real nice guy. And, that might be another reason they got rid of Captain Marvel, was because Marvel was already kind of a nice guy, and you just didn't need him and Gardner both doing the same shtick. So he's saying, my gosh, aren't those Guardians the most awe-inspiring fellows you've ever met? And all those heroes together at once. Why, gee whiz, I've never seen anything quite like it. Thanks for the insights, Guy. You haven't anything a little more substantial to offer, John. What the Guardians and Zamorans had to say was most disturbing, Booster, and more than a little confusing. I need time to ponder this. And of course, we're talking about what I was just talking about, the whole concept of Millennium and the attack of the Manhunters and what to do about it. And so you notice Beetle and Mr. Miracle, they're talking about Guy and what's going on with him. Black Canary is there as well, so is Batman. And Rocket Red walks up and says, "Gentlemen?" To which Black Canary responds, "Gentlemen and lady, that's better. I would like a word with you. You're always free to speak your mind among us, Rocket Red." Now, of course, he's saying that because obviously Rocket Red is from the Soviet Union, where you were not always free to speak your mind, a certain problem that has cropped up on social media as well, huh? And while they're, starting to chat, Beetle's noticing something wrong. There's something wrong here. That's well said. With the board, everything's going dead. No, it's probably just a minor malfunction. A gentleman, hey, and lady, I think it's time you learn the truth about me. Don't tell us, you're sexist. I am a manhunter. Say what? I have seen you all in action, studied you. You are a most formidable group, and one that would be a worthy addition to the Manhunter cause. I ask you to join us. Join you after all we've just heard? That's, if you weren't aware, that's Batman's angry face. Notice the eyebrows. They make fun of that on the Adam West cowl. Whoops, I got blurry here. There we go. They make fun of the eyebrows on the cowl on Adam West, but there it is. They are part of the character, the mask, etc. So meanwhile, back at the embassy, Oberon is tracking the shuttle, and he notices it's going off course. So he sends Captain Adam to go in there and find out what's going on. And what has basically happened is the Manhunters have taken control of the shuttle, and they're going to use it for their own purposes. And so he's asking, join us. And if we refuse, you must die. So Beetle, getting really high tech, fogs up the window and writes, help, hoping that one of the Leaguers that's outside the shuttle will notice it. And so here he opens up his face visor, and we see that it is, in fact, a Manhunter. That's what they look like. I mean, without the normal Soviet-style armor on. And so while he's doing that, Mr. Miracle's trying to kind of sneak into his circuits. He gets zapped, sort of taken out, We cannot be so easily stopped. You can say that again. We cannot be so easily stopped. No sense of humor either. So what is your answer? Does the word no ring a bell? Hey, it's Pele for Tang. Tang was still a going concern back then. And if you're immature, you're probably snickering right now, and that's fine. So obviously this starts a bit of a brouhaha, a little bit of a fight within the shuttle. Guy Gardner happens to see help. That's what I love about these guys. They're such a great bunch of jokers. So maybe the worst guy to see help. And so we got Black Canary going in, martial arts style against him. Beetle's just gotten his butt whooped a bit. Batman's dragging him out of the way. Pretty good action stuff here. This was a funny comic, but they knew how to do superhero fights. Looks like Black Canary is getting the worst of it now. Batman now gets involved, and now stuff's starting to go crazy with the shuttle. So these guys are all noticing something's wrong. Batman, this little plan of yours doesn't seem to be working out the way you wanted it to. Give me a minute. My stomach's only got another 30 seconds. Gosh, I think something's really wrong. Another astounding insight, Guy. How do you do it? I guess it just comes naturally. Stop the banter and move. Yes, sir, Mr. Martin Manhunter. Sir. So Batman takes one in the mouth from a robot in armor. That can't be good. Everything's going nuts. And we see the control's still not responding. Terrific. We can't get out. He's still in control. And on top of that, your ears are drooping. Beetle. Just a little levity to lighten an otherwise morbid moment. Oops, what? We're changing course. I've got a bad feeling about this. Those were the days when a little Star Wars reference wasn't so obvious a thing. It was, we were just starting to get back into Star Wars in the late 80s, early 90s. So anyhow, so now Rocket Red's on the outside of the ship here, and, get back, all of you. With the Rocket Red circuitry, I command the ship. Your comrades' lives are in my hands. I don't get it. Why is he acting this way? We are Manhunters. We have prepared for every contingency. Manhunters? Oh boy, that explains it. So now the guys outside are aware of what's happening. What are they going to do about it? Well, they're going to do what superheroes do. Guy Gardner sets up a shield to stop some explosives shot his way. So we have these two. Opinion booster. Do you think he's bluffing? Oh, what is he saying? I'm sorry. I warn you, if you do not leave, I shall detonate my armor. The ship will explode. Batman and the others will die. Yeah, Batman's not going to die. Give me a break. Well, that does limit our options. So, do you think he's bluffing? No time to figure that out. Look, the ship's speeding right for that oil refinery. If it hits, when it hits, thousands of lives will be lost. The Justice League will die, and die in disgrace, for they will be blamed for this disaster. The Manhunters will triumph. I'll say this for the Manhunters, they really seem to like their jobs. Where are the others going? Where they must. Civilian lives are at stake. And us, we're expendable. Oh, I knew that. All right. So here they're coming down, and all of a sudden, the shuttle screeches to a halt, sending the Rocket Red, who's really a Manhunter, into the oil refinery. What stopped us? Maybe we ran out of gas. That's a Looney Tunes reference. No, look outside. We've just been rescued by a whole squad of real Rocket Reds. Whoever said better dead than red never met this bunch. Well, they might have. Yeah, one never thinks about some of the things the Rocket Reds might have had to do within the Soviet Union at the time. So there's the big explosion. We do that slowly so we don't completely lose focus. God knows I'm about to lose focus most of the time when I'm doing these things. So Captain Atom shows up as well. He kind of got the Rocket Reds involved. Now, it turns out that the explosion, which you see now here is being controlled by Guy Gardner's power ring, happened to be in Bialya. And here comes Colonel Harjavti, who obviously is pretty angry about the whole thing. He's storming up. I might have known that it was the Justice League who has so brazenly invaded my nation for a second time. Oh no. Ruman Harjavti, tyrant, dictator, ruler of the terrorist nation of Bialya. If I knew what you were saying, you capitalist scum, I would slap your face. Then allow me to translate it into your language. No, don't bother. It will be enough for me to report to my Soviet allies about this incursion, this flagrant act of war, Your Soviet allies were responsible for this unintentional incursion, Colonel Harjavti. Fire's burned out, the crisis is past, and gosh, isn't it a lovely day? But what comes out of the crash? Oh, kind of like a Terminator, right? Here he comes with the skeleton. I was going to say exoskeleton. That wouldn't be right. This sort of the robot skeleton emerges from all the rubble, and no man escapes the Manhunters. Yeah, you're going to hear that a lot during Millennium. And then Blong. Who? What? Nice job, my boy. I couldn't have done it better myself. No, don't thank me. Thank my trusty force field projector. On second thought, thank me. So a little booster gold action there. He set up a force field around the guy, so he basically blew himself up when he pulled the trigger. So this was quite the shocking moment for these guys. And Batman's like, okay, we don't care about the Colonel right now. If the Manhunters manage to gain entry into the League, then they can be virtually anywhere, from the local church to the White House to, I think it best that those of you with personal lives see to them, the people you trust most, might very well be Manhunters. So basically, you're talking about the concept of invasion of the body snatchers, that kind of a gag. And they did actually have a lot of side characters in these books turn out to be Manhunters and be sort of oftentimes destroyed and written out. I always wondered if that was annoying to the creators, who maybe had some subplots they wanted to do with those characters along the way. At any rate, we now join Maxwell Lord in the Lord Building, New York City. This is very distressing. Agreed. What do you make of it? I require more data. I thought you knew everything. I am not a god. That's not what you told me. I am more dependable, more efficient than any god. And humble, too. So he's talking to this computer, and we've seen some weird interactions between Max and his computer in this series. It's still a little bit mysterious. So they're looking at all these potential candidates for League membership. There's Flash, that's the Wally West Flash, and some kind of personal trouble because of these. Who are they? Who are they? And that looks like, that's Firestorm. I wasn't reading the book at that time, so my brain first went Lex Luthor, and I'm like, no, that's not what he looked like at this point. That's like Golden Age Lex Luthor. Here we have Wonder Woman with, I believe that's Pan. If they can get this close to someone like Wonder Woman, you're kind of like going, what? All right, well, at any rate. So, so the computer is looking through all this data. They're basically spying on everybody, and he's kind of freaked out, just like Batman. These guys could be absolutely anywhere. So from behind him, Mr. Lord, not now, Mrs. Woutenhofer. But it's important, sir. A memo. I don't care about any damn memo. You'll care about this one. Is this laundry done? Ooh, it's the revised Green Arrow. That's after, I believe, they had relaunched him with the longbow hunters and all that cool stuff. And then she pulls a gun, bam, 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 bam. Not looking good for Maxwell Lord. She pops a bubble in her gum. No man escapes the Manhunters. Will there be anything else, Mr.? Oh, no. And something is whirring behind her. And the door slams. To be continued. But first, be sure to pick up the rest of our staggering Millennium maxi series. You've been a very bad girl, Mrs. Woutenhofer. So, apparently the computer is dealing with her. So the computer is definitely not part of the Manhunter plot, but his secretary was and seems to have killed Maxwell Lord. Well, we'll find out next time around what happens there, but we do have a backup feature of the Global Guardians, Giffen, plot and pencils, DeMatteis script, Gordon inks, Moss letters, D'Angelo colors, Helfer, long lunches. Man, they're telling on him. Okay, so last time around, we saw Jack-O-Lantern essentially blow up like... I guess he didn't blow up the dome, but he basically quit. He quit the Global Guardians. I'm going out on my own. I'm going to do what I want to do. He's pissed about the Justice League getting that international status from the United Nations, which the Global Guardians used to have, etc. So he's angry. And he has gone to meet with Colonel Harjavti of Bialia. So there's a little small chatter here, and basically he's showing what he can do. He's showing how much power he has. And he's trying to make a deal with Colonel Harjavti. But for my people, they demand that their beloved leader surround himself with the comforts. They must be... Okay, so they're talking about his great palace and how poor his country is. Avarice and greed are the same thing, Colonel. You're being redundant. And you are being antagonistic. And you're being coy. And you are being... Hey, can we cut the crap and get to the point? Of course, what I propose, my friend, is an organization of superpowered terror freedom fighters, sponsored by Bialia. And you're doing this out of the goodness of your heart. I do this because I am tired of seeing the third world crushed, not just beneath the boot heels of the Americans and their allies, but crushed by our arrogant Russian brothers as well. This Justice League International, this abomination created to do the bidding of Gorbachev and Reagan, this was the last straw. We're talking Cold War here, folks. Good times, good times. In your native Ireland, Jack, haven't the British done to your people what has been done to mine? Haven't they been beaten, down, humiliated, slaughtered in the streets by the self-righteous, the rich, the wielders of so-called morality? Look, I've got to be going now, but I'll think this over. There are a few friends I want to look up. They might be interested in a deal like this. Excellent. Be sure to give me a call when you've decided. If I'm not in, leave a message on my answering machine. Sure thing. Jerk, pompous little jackass. Only thing that twit's interested in is grabbing some power for himself. But still and all, his idea's not a bad one. JLI is a tool of the rich, the powerful. They are just puppets dancing on American and Soviet strings. And a more arrogant bunch I've never seen. Well, I know how to deal with that kind of arrogance. Yeah, I think I'll go for the Colonel's little group, and I think a recruitment tour is in order. But the first time Ruman steps out of line, he's out of a job. So Jack O'Lantern is getting a little crazy, and basically it ends with Colonel Harjavti thinking about, what he's doing, and then boom, and that is the oil fields getting hit by the JLI shuttle that we just saw in the story we just read. So there we go. What do we got going here? We got the Millennium crossover. We got a Manhunter in the Justice League. So there's going to be a couple weeks at least of dealing with the Millennium threat in all these different books. We're going to be visiting this concept or this storyline again in our next issue. But we've also seen Maxwell Lord taken out by his secretary working with the Manhunters. But we've seen a little more interaction between him and the computer, and who's really in charge here. Maybe the computer is. Computer definitely didn't like what happened to Maxwell Lord and dealt with it. We've also seen the Global Guardians, who have, well, not exactly broken up, but Jack has quit. Others seem like they're going to. They've lost their international charter. And now they're getting an offer from Colonel Harjavti of Bialia to reform as a supergroup in his country to sort of be a third world balance to the Justice League, to the United States, to the Soviet Union. So they're laying down some tracks for ongoing storylines, even while they're dealing with this crossover. Folks, what do you think of this issue, Justice League number 9, January 1988? Love to hear about it in the comments. I liked it. We're getting a little more of the humor. They still have the action. Welding the two things together is going to be, tricky through the rest of these books. There are going to be certain issues where I can remember being like, okay, slow down on the jokes. A little more action would be nice. But they were trying something new, and that's not always easy to do because it wasn't just intended solely as a humor title, where you're just being goofy all the time and you don't have to worry about the actual story. You did have to worry about the story in this one. I think overall they did pretty good, but let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, maybe share with a friend. Like I said, reviewing a Justice League International comic every week this year. We're on issue number 9. We got many more weeks to go before we get to, I guess, probably issue number 52. So you might want to subscribe and check those out. Until next time, God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another. Have a little bit of fun out there. And I will hopefully see you again soon in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye.